Well, welcome everybody to the Elevate Construction Podcast. I'm on the line here with a guest today, Jim Rogers, and I'm really excited for him to introduce some of the cool things that he has done. So say hi to everybody, Jim.
Hello, everybody. Glad to join you today. I appreciate being on the show, Jason.
Well, that's fantastic. So I've been introduced, and most of you in construction probably know Jim from his LinkedIn learning courses. He does a fantastic job. I've been exposed to him in the consulting that he does. Very kind, wonderful, approachable, and knowledgeable individual. I'm not just saying that because you're here. I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character, and it's been really neat to work with you. And that's why we asked Spencer, asked if he could do the first reach out. But we talked about we've got to invite you to get on the podcast. So to introduce you a little bit, can you tell us just a little bit about you? I mean, what your role is and what's your involvement with construction?
Sure. I'll back way up to my introduction to the construction industry, which was really in high school. Started in construction then, went to school for something entirely different, and left school and decided I still really liked construction. And in one way or another, that's where I've stayed my whole life, and kind of gone from project management and construction management to teaching construction management at Arizona State for a while, and then really kind of got interested in continued education, and really started thinking about all of the things that my construction management students still didn't know when they got out of the program, because we only had them for so long. And that led me to join LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn purchased an old company called lynda.com that had been around in the online training industry for many years, and said, hey, we want to expand into construction management and the AEC industry. And that's where I've spent the last 4 or 5 years, is creating online courses for them, and kind of broadening the reach, and really kind of expanding the message to more than just locally here. So I still really enjoy working with some of my consulting clients, and getting the insights that brings me, and then I kind of am able to turn that around and go out and create these online courses, to get a little broader reach and help push our industry along in what we know and what we learn.
So you got started with LinkedIn through lynda.com, is that right? Were you
I
working
started
with
there. I started there literally the month that LinkedIn bought lynda.com. So the
Okay.
buyout had just gone through, and that's when they contacted me and said, "Hey, we'd really be interested in doing this."
So that's really I don't know if you want to call it a good break. You deserve everything you have, but that's a really neat opportunity. You get to be the face for a lot of this really neat training. That's pretty cool.
It really was. It was one of those where I knew who lynda.com was. I didn't know much about them. I wrote this letter saying, "Hey, I have this crazy idea for you to expand your courses into my industry," and never heard a word. And then all of a sudden, after the buyout went through, I was just literally sitting doing nothing one day, and my phone rang, and it was them saying, "Oh, we're really sorry we never got back to you, but we got your letter and we're really interested, and now that the buyout's gone through, we have some breathing room and we want to do this."
That's neat. So the reason the reason I'm passionate about having you on is because, and you know this, we've talked a little bit. Even if I'm naive about how far we can go, I want to participate with people like you in providing training so that we can elevate construction coast to coast, right? Make the environment for workers better, trained leaders that have preserved and balanced and happy families at home. And to your point, with this higher level of focus, I think we can do it.
Yeah.
And one day I want to plant a seed right now. And so we sent an email to Mike Rowe. We'll see if he we'll see if he sends something back. But here, imagine this. Okay, so have you ever seen the home makeover shows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but done in a kind and respectful way. So no drama, no grandstanding, no making somebody look bad. But imagine that we had let's say you and me. I'll insinuate myself for the story right here. But what if there was a job? Let's say it was a mega project or something like that. It was in trouble, right? And the team humbly asked for help, and we go in. like I said, not grandstanding, but humbly facilitating. We have a camera crew, and like they're like, okay, here's our problem. We got to attack this, and we need to build the team here and do and turn it into like a 45-minute special, where it goes from this is where we were, and these were the team building and organizational health and systematic and field operations systems that we put in place to recover the project, and then do some testimonials, and then get people addicted to that show, like that 45-minute special, maybe once a month or so, I don't know, but it's like a Netflix special, and then construction professionals start to see, oh my gosh, this is possible. I don't have to like live with it. Anyway, I want to plant that. Do you like my idea?
I am right there with you. I've already had the same thought.
Oh,
And what's funny is I have also already tried to connect with Mike Rowe. So yes, if one of us gets there, we need to bring each other along. I think that would be really cool. I actually spoke at a conference, and I had to follow Mike Rowe at the conference as a speaker, which is pretty intimidating because he's a really good keynote speaker. But yeah, I like some of the things he's done for the industry and apprenticeship and the trades in general. And no, I completely agree with you. Somewhere there's got to be this market for this show doing exactly what you said. I think that's a cool concept.
I love it. Well, I promise you, if we get through, you're going to be the first person I call. And,
Hey,
there's no shortage of opportunities. I think the problem would be that in construction, I don't want to say we're forced, but we're culturally acclimated to think that we have to do it on our own, don't reach out for help. So that might be a bit of a barrier. But, if we got one or two shows out, and there we demonstrated respect, and the fact that you lean in and there doesn't diminish the on-site leaders, it might change some things. I think we could do it.
yeah, I think it would be really cool, and I think that's an interesting concept as well. And I agree with you. I do think that we unfortunately have a little bit too much of this culture of I have to do it myself. I have to be the one that fixes this problem, or I'm not doing my job. And it would be kind of nice to demonstrate that's not really necessary, and nobody knows everything, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can really do a lot of good by just bringing in another team temporarily. It does, you're not failing in your job. You're not bringing somebody in to replace you. You're bringing in help,
Yeah.
and people want to come in and help and coach so that they can leave and go on to the next project while you continue on and do better at your project. I think it's a great idea.
I love it. Well, let's make it happen. I think the only question is it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years that we get
That's
that
right.
done? So I've got one quick question for that I'm really curious about. Can you tell me what's the most fun or remarkable thing about working with LinkedIn? Like, is there a moment or a feeling or a sound or a smell when you go to like what's kind of a fun thing about working with them?
So I absolutely have an answer to that. I don't even have to think about it. The only reason I hesitated a little bit is the answer somewhat bashes our industry a bit. One of the thing that I immediately noticed at LinkedIn is just this concept of we are all a team. We are all working together, and there's ways we resolve disputes and ways that we resolve conflict that are very friendly and don't induce a lot of stress. And again, coming from the construction industry, and especially from the construction industry a decade ago and 2 decades ago, you probably have to agree with me that that's not really how
I
our
agree.
industry tends to be. Disputes are constant, and conflict is constant, and we don't always deal with them in the same way, or in a way that's pleasant, we'll say. And it's been 5 years now at LinkedIn, and I do a lot of remote work and I do a lot of traveling for them. So I'm obviously not there every single day. There's obviously things I don't see, but what I have seen and what I participated in, it's just been a really pleasant environment. It's just been this environment where everybody's pushing towards this learner first philosophy, and what that means in the courses that we produce, whatever the topic is we want to do whatever it takes to put the learner first and make sure that whatever we're producing, whatever the topic is, the learner's first, and the learner is benefiting from the decisions we make. And that sort of guiding principle has been really I don't know, kind of refreshing, I guess.
Well, I love that. If you, I'll talk you into it somehow. I'll send you some kind of baked goods or something. But if you ever want to bring me along one day and we'll talk about lean or something, like I'll
Yeah,
do it for free. I'm just there. I'm just there riding on your coattails. I would love to just see that even for an hour. That's
yeah.
awesome.
We
So
we
I have one. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say we were very much in the on the role of me being able to bring the film crews out here from LinkedIn and interview people and go to job sites, and then of course 2020 hit, and now we're virtual and trying to figure out how to get on that role, get back on that role. But yeah, once we can do that, I definitely will take you up on that.
That's awesome. So one more question about, because I don't want to go too far before we get to the topic, and to cue up the topic, you're really big on safety, quality, and productivity. We hear that they're equal, right? But people usually look at it like you were telling me, like dials. If you get these two, then you can't have this one. So that's a topic we're going to get into.
Okay.
And I'll cue that up and signpost that for us. My last question is, where do you see yourself by way of influencing the industry, teaching, mentoring, coaching, consulting in 5 years' time? Like, what would be your vision? If I'm doing this in 5 years, I'm successful.
Boy, I would say, just kind of continuing. I've really enjoyed the reach that I get with these online courses, and that was something that was a little hard for me to grasp because I've done training and I've done teaching for a long time, and I had my students at ASU, that I kind of had this sphere of influence that I get to impart some knowledge and help people learn things. And now transitioning to this online format where that sphere becomes kind of the whole world has really been kind of cool for me. And I guess where I would see myself in 5 years is continuing to expand that reach and explore more opportunities to promote learning and help people transfer knowledge. I think there's a lot of people in this industry that have a lot of knowledge,
Yeah.
and besides just me. And one of the things I really like doing is pulling those people in and helping transfer that knowledge to the rest of the industry and the younger people that are coming up and are going to need to replace us someday.
When you said, reach out for help, I would love it if we could define through what you're doing that the definition of a good job is to reach out. I love when you said that. And then when you're scaling up this training from person to person, this sounds arrogant, not for me, but no, I'm just going to say it anyway. We know the industry, someone in our industry knows a part, and all of us added together, we know all of the answers of how to do it right now, today.
Mhm.
Clean job, we know how to do it. On time, we
Yep.
know how to do it. Agile planning, we know how to do it. Lean, we know how to do it. But 8 out of 10 construction projects fail in some way. I'm not saying the whole thing's a failure, but they're disgusting. There's trash everywhere. They're behind schedule. I was blown away, Jim, that an industry average study showed that the average construction project in the United States is over 50 days behind schedule.
Yeah, it's
That's an
amazing.
average.
That's
That's an
amazing.
that's ridiculous. I agree. And if we're behind schedule, we're definitely not making a lot of money. So I'd like that to kick off our topic here. Can you introduce kind of your thoughts about safety, quality, and productivity being possible together? Can you kick
Sure.
that off for us?
Yeah, I think it starts off with just this real basic premise that safety, quality, productivity are inextricably linked. And um, getting past what I grew up with in the industry, which was, you'd have the old salty superintendent come out and say, safety, quality, productivity, pick two. You're not getting all three. And that's really what I grew up with in the industry. And then as I started to move through the industry, do different things, teach, look at things other people were doing, look at research studies, and kind of learn that that's completely the opposite of what's true. They're actually, those three things are really inextricably linked. And there's people that have really even tried to do studies out there to show how they're inextricably linked. If you and there's also just some common sense, I think, if you stop and think about things. If I'm working 10 stories up and I'm not tied off because I don't really know what I'm doing as far as fall protection, or the boss didn't give me what I need, I'm just supposed to go out and do this really quick. It kind of stands to reason that I'm probably not working very efficiently or very quickly, right? I'm more concerned about falling. I'm less concerned about how fast I'm doing the work. And I'm also probably not really that concerned about quality, right? I want to do this as quickly as I can so I can get off this ledge, kind of thing. And so, when you really stop and think about it, I don't feel like it's too hard to grasp the concept that safety, quality, productivity are inextricably linked. And you can't ignore one of those elements without negatively impacting the other two. And I find some really, when you accept that concept, I find some really interesting things that you can do with it. So we talk, I don't know, in the safety industry, we talk a lot about, what can we track that are leading indicators? We instead of tracking the accidents and the terrible things that have happened in the past and reading about them in a report after they happened, what can we track that is a leading indicator that's going to tell us that if we don't make some changes, we're going to, have some issues. And if you sort of incorporate this concept of safety, quality, and productivity being inextricably linked, there starts to be, I feel like, a number of leading indicators that can help you with all three. So if you're able to, we'll pull in one of my other favorite topics, which is construction technology and adopting construction technology. If you're able to bring in some of this construction technology that helps you track things like, where are you falling down on your schedule? Where are you seeing a lot of damage or a lot of rework? Where are you seeing unsafe behaviors? And you're really able to, through technology, quickly identify, record, correct, and walk away. You start to gather enough data that week by week you can use that data to help correct all three. So, if I have enough information that tells me, what, over here we're seeing a couple of trades with a lot of unsafe behaviors, and so that tells me that I need to go correct something before we have an incident, a serious injury. But what I believe what you'll also notice is that in that same area, you're seeing punch list items, you're seeing rework, because the quality is down as well.
Sure.
And maybe that's also the area that's having some scheduling problems. And if you really try to take care of all three instead of just saying, all right, we need to come in and make this safer. Stop for a second. Why are we having these unsafe behaviors? Because a lot of times you're having unsafe behaviors because they were sent with the wrong equipment. It's not only unsafe, it's not efficient.
Yeah.
And just that recognition of, if I see one of those elements going downhill and correct it, I can prevent the other two from faltering as well.
I'd like to build on that, if you don't mind, and see if you agree with me. If I'm a foreman or a superintendent and I hear what you're saying, so real quick, I did an interview the other day with Felipe Engineer, who does a lot within the lean community.
Yep.
And he said, to understand Last Planner, don't come from a CPM mental paradigm. Come from a Scrum paradigm,
Sure.
Agile planning, and you'll understand this better. I think what you're saying, so the same kind of thing, when I'm listening to you, I hadn't had this thought before, but when you say we can achieve all three, I think we look at it, if I'm the typical professional in the industry, I come at it from our normal paradigm. But just like you were saying before our interview, if you come at it from a lean paradigm,
Mhm.
it's possible. Let me give you an example and see if I'm on track here to
Sure.
make sure I'm understanding.
Okay.
If you told a superintendent that you can be safe and you can be safe, clean, organized, and make productivity right and do quality, I think the thought is, okay, we're going to still do things the same way we all did, but now I need to add a composite cleanup crew. And I don't mean to make anybody mad, but I don't believe in composite cleanup crews. I believe on training crews to clean up themselves. But let's just use that as a background.
Okay.
If you're doing that, they think I'm going to keep doing the quality the way we're doing it. I'm going to keep the speed. And oh, you want me to be safer and cleaner? Let me add manpower. And that could actually increase the risk of us being unsafe, lack of quality, more communication breakdowns. But if the crews learn lean, implement lean, and reduce the waste they inherently create, to your point, which you mentioned on the ledge example, increase their amount of planning and focus on quality, then the cleanliness, organization, installing it once, being effective, will pave the way for quality. So if I'm right, I think what we have to do is adopt your mindset that you're telling us with the concept of get to the root cause. Don't do
Yeah.
it the old wasteful ways that we used to do it. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your incorporation of lean and lean concepts is really spot on as well. I think that's a lean is a mindset and a method that really does embrace the incorporation of all of those elements, and the fact that when you ignore one element, the others suffer. Um, so yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, and uh, I think that lean provides a framework for us to start thinking differently
Yeah.
as well, which is important, I think.
I like the way you phrase that, think differently. Two other things that came to my mind, and then what I'd like to do is see if you have any closing thoughts or challenges for our listeners. There, and you've read the book, The Power of Habit. Most people listening to this podcast has. You probably remember where they talked about doing quality RCAs, root cause analyses, help their safety program, and in one company, a focus on safety changed everything, their productivity, their financials, and everything. And I think those stories prove your point.
Yeah.
And one focus of mine that happened in the cancer center downtown Phoenix, when I was with Hensel Phelps, we were installing chilled beams. One of the first facilities in Phoenix that really started to use chilled beams in the interiors. And they had planned two or three they called them yard guys, gals, but they 2 or 3 yard guys back at the laydown area, and they were going to have 8 people installing these things. And we had implemented, and I'll just brag about him, Brad Nelson, one of the best superintendents ever. I love that guy. He and I worked out a plan where the floors were going to be spotless, cords off the ground. We always say that, but like we really found a way to do it. And at
Right.
the end of the day, their crew size went from 8 to 2 with no yard guys. The material,
Wow.
the chilled beams came in. They had some fitting up to do. They bring down the all thread. They unpackage them, but they unpackaged them at the loading dock. Immediately, the trash went in the dumpster and then right into place. And because they were able to move their lifts in and out without trash, without cords, they reduced that crew size. And they were like, usually we don't tell contractors this, but we made about $250,000 in added productivity. And so that was a moment for me that's accentuating your point. If you get these other things in place, it will affect your productivity. So I'm really connecting with what you're saying. So I'd like you, no pressure, but are there any challenges, any advice, anything you'd like to leave our listeners with as we close this down?
Yeah, I guess I'll go back to that think differently concept. I think we have a hard time I think people in general have a hard time with change. I think our industry is not immune to that. And I would really challenge people to think differently. That means kind of embracing some of these concepts that maybe are a little foreign to us, like lean and the integration of safety, quality, and productivity. continual learning and training. But I guess that's what I would leave with is a challenge for everybody in our industry to really consider thinking differently.
I appreciate that. And as we close, I don't know if you want people to reach out, but if you want anybody to check out any of your, but if you do, is there any media, courses, or ways that people can connect with you that you'd like to tell us about?
Sure. The absolute, obviously I've sort of invested in the LinkedIn platform, and that's probably the best way to reach out. My profile's open. You can, anybody can send me a message, anytime. But yeah, just that, linkedin.com/in/Rogers Gym is how you find me on LinkedIn, and that's where you can find list of my courses over on LinkedIn Learning, and newsletters that I try and put out a couple times a month. And like I say, that's the best way to communicate with me, and just send a message there as well.
Well, thank you very much for being on today. And I want to
Thank you
close
for
out
having
with this vision. People like Jim who are scaling training throughout the industry. Imagine if we're able to make this, like you are on LinkedIn, Jim, as addictive as Facebook, as useful as YouTube, and as quick as Wikipedia, meaning all workers, all supers, all field engineers. When I have my phone and I'm on there at night, instead of looking at like killer clown videos, what if our media for construction was interesting enough and quick enough and relevant and practical enough to where when somebody came to the job, it was like, oh yeah, I have been through that lean course. I have been through that construction scheduling course. And our industry through education gets better and better and better and better. And I think that's the vision. And so kudos to you, Jim, for everything you're doing. And for anybody listening, please connect with his content. Please check it out. And let's all work together to bring the training to our industry, to respect workers, bring respect back, train people, and then ultimately that ends up preserving families and letting us live a remarkable life, because construction can be fun. So, Jim, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
On we go.